We're going to talk a little bit about customer service. We're going to talk a little bit about experiences we've had the last day or two or three, or I don't know, just the recent, maybe this week. Let's call it this week. Customer experiences this week we've had, and going to share some of those good, bad, and uglies with you. But hey, we appreciate you being here with us today here on Turfs Up Radio. As always, without you guys, none of it is possible. So we're interested, as always, in having you guys involved with us. So appreciate that. Corey, appreciate you hopping on. Yes, indeedy, Ben Briscoe. Back to have you back in the saddle with us, brother. Absolutely. Looking forward to your input as we go along in our show again, my friends. So appreciate you listening to us here as well. Corey, appreciate you tuning in this morning with us, and you guys that are listening to this on podcast, appreciate that as well. So, and if hey, be sure to join us. We're these are on YouTube now. All of our Turfs Up Profit Time shows are on YouTube. Daniel's putting those up. So you get the visual experience as well as just the verbal experience with it. It's last Friday already of March. Can y'all believe it? I mean, season's rocking pretty good for some of us that have already kicked it off. And I know some of you guys are getting ready to start out hard and heavy with it next week and the next few weeks anyway. So as always, fine tune what you're doing and make the experience as good as you can make it. As and what I mean by that is, you're going to have hiccups along the way on the kickoff and whatnot, but just make sure everything's ready to go. Just check and double check, absolutely, because the reality of it is there's just a lot of things to kick off a new season, whether you're a one truck operation or a multi crew company. A lot of things get involved in that. So Corey says he's hot and heavy into aeration today. Good deal, man. Yeah, we've been doing a little aeration, a little overseeding. Yeah, it's cool to know what you guys are into today. That's actually yesterday. We blew it up pretty good on some aeration and seeding. And today we're into some little landscaping work. And I always say a little because I mean, it's little landscaping work. It might be nice jobs, but little landscaping work and fertilization weed control apps. So yeah, we got a really great day today. Weather's going to take a little change and turn here, but for too much longer. We all know that. But the rest of my buddy Matt was telling me Wednesday with Bam when he was on with me. So that we're going to have some weather. We'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But yeah, it's always something going on. So we'll see what Aaron Walls sent me a nice little picture here. That's a picture of his new Greenworks mower that they're letting him demo and try out and see how he likes it, and showing an area that he mowed. That's pretty cool. It gives him his cutting area, his time, his average speed, 6 kilometers. Average speed 6K MH. Let's see. Maximum speed 6. Yeah, there you go. Looks pretty cool. So, that's the thing. Technology in our industry has come a long, long, long way. Absolutely. But what hasn't changed? And here I go, Daniel, down the first road that I wasn't going down today. Wasn't the plan, but we always go down those roads. But what hasn't changed? Well, I tell you what, we're kind of going to touch on this actually today. Yeah, we are. So, hey, this is not a deviation off course. But what hasn't changed for a whole lot of the industry is, how do I want to say it? Let's just go basic. The way we price our jobs. I was very fortunate yesterday. I got to talk to a gentleman down in Atlanta, Georgia. Great guy. Been in business 19 years and looking to. He was. I think he told me. I know, or not think. I know. I know. He told me he was 59 years old, and he's planning on bailing out of the industry at 65. And he said, you know what? He said, I'm going to get my pricing in order. He said, I saw one of your videos on YouTube. I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube, and yours made the most sense. And he said, I'm going to see if I can't get my business ready to sell within 7 years. So that I appreciate that, and hopefully we got him here listening to us on Turfs Up Radio as well, because did share that with him as well. So hopefully he's on with us, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me telling that little story. But it all boils down to what are you willing to do different and better than the way you did it the day before. And I think that's what we all got to be open up to. And before we get into all that aspect of it, I mean, man, I've just dove in fast, man, head first. Careful, the bottom might be shallow, man. But hey, glad to have both Benno Briscoe back with us, and condolences his ways. His family's going through a tough time, and but hey, we're glad to have him back with us, and glad to have all you guys with us. So, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a short break because I don't know. Hopefully, we'll hit another one. Our sponsors say we need to hit a couple one for sure, because without our sponsors, we don't have anything. So, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Anyways, getting back onto our show today and our content today. Wanted to before we get too far into it, I did skip right over the fact that we got some weather going to be rolling into a lot of places. Either starting tomorrow for some, and across just Saturday, Sunday, into Monday up in the East Coast. And Matt with Bam Weather was telling us about that. So you guys be safe, and hopefully nothing too crazy goes on, but they can't do anything about it other than be prepared. So prepare yourself a little bit. So, good morning, Seth. Yes, indeed. Seth said it's a good day to be looking down on grass. Absolutely, man. And the temperature has come up fast here for us in Louisville. So, yeah, it's been a good one. Good one. But or parasitic. Yeah, that's one another way of looking at it, Corey. Absolutely, absolutely. You know, so, but it is David Bowling, one of our listeners here on Turfs Up Radio, very loyal listener to us. He posted something really funny on Facebook today. And I don't know if you guys if you're a basketball fan or not, and with the Sweet 16 and all going on, but he had something funny on there to the point. I mean, I'm not looking right at it, so it's not going to be verbatim on it. But the reality of it was, he said, Arkansas fans now understand what UK fans feel on a regular basis. So I, I'll let you all decipher that however you want to. But the reality of it is, hey, we do them one game at a time, but Calipari has a rough time finishing it off. I think that somebody said they had like a 15-point lead or something with just limited time left, and 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes something. But anyways, hey, I'm not talking bad about the guy. I mean, I wish I was making part of what he was making. I'd be happy with 25% of his salary. So hey, I'm not talking bad about him. I'm not going to throw rocks at him. I'm not there. So, but it is crazy to see him, not be able to finish for some reason. But I don't know. Calipari's not playing the game though. He's responsible for coaching it. It's kind of like you and your business, I mean, depending on the size of your company, may not be out there playing the game, if you will, but you're coaching it, you're managing it. And you got to be the one, and regardless of what hat you got on that day, if you got your production hat on, or your management hat on, or your marketing hat, there's a lot of hats to be worn. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, is all the different hats that we do wear. It's kind of like me when I came in today. you know I put on a couple things, personal hats, that things I had to take care of. One was and I know, Wayne, you did that at work time? Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Because the reality of it is, people people don't understand what you guys understand it. Let me say that. Everybody listening to me here on Turfstop Radio understands it, but the general public doesn't understand that. Well, they just only say, "Well, it must be nice to go to work and do some personal things." Well, yeah, but they don't see us, up at midnight or up at 10 at night working on things for the next day, whether it's equipment or sending out proposals or they don't see the backside of it. I mean, there's probably not anybody listening to us here on radio that are saying, "Yeah, man, I've got an 8 to 4 job." I mean, it just don't happen. It just don't happen. So, yeah, I came in today and it was the start of lake season for next year for 2026. We got to be thinking about that. So we stay about a year ahead. Thanks to Robin. Robin keeps us on focus on that and on task. So I want to give a shout out to Robin in case she's listening to us because she does keep us on task, all of us late goers on, okay, it's time to do this, time to do that. And God, before we know it, I mean, heck, next Tuesday's what, April 1st? That's not, well, the most important thing about April 1st is that's Tabitha's birthday. But it also starts a new month for each and every one of us. And it also starts the month in which we'll be headed to the lake. So, God be willing, and the lake don't rise. I think they're still trying to get it back down to a normal setting for all of us, or down toward Lake Summer Pool. But they sure used it as a reservoir this winter for sure. So, and I'm sure there's going to be more going into it. So, but hey, I just want to give my buddy Aaron and Daniel a big shout out this morning for a great job well done as always on their shows. Daniel had some pretty good fun facts rolling through for us, and Aaron Aaron's always got a great show. If you guys have not had an opportunity to listen to Aaron's show, check him out. He's on every morning at 7 a.m. and that's 6 a.m. slow time for you guys in the Central Time Zone. But yeah, Aaron does a great job as well. So appreciate those guys getting everybody rocking and rolling in the morning and waking everybody up and getting me ready to come in on my show. So appreciate that. So together we all do a great job along with the other hosts here on Turfs Up Radio, and that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. So um, I did want to talk about getting an event shared with you guys. Well, I call it an event. It's not really an event. Uh, a customer situation that Katie ran into that this week, and I think it was yesterday actually. But lady, first of all, she was like, "Oh my God, somebody finally answered the phone." That was the first response. And secondly, like, okay, Katie says, "Well, okay, let me get your information." We went through all that, that we've talked about here, what we collect, and Katie got our proposal out immediately. And I mean, it's the speed at which is important on getting those proposals out. And fortunately, we're very fortunate here at Wayne's Lawn Service to, have the staff to get proposals out pretty quickly most of the time. And so anyway, the lady was just telling Katie that, hey, you guys were the most professional people that we talked to. Appreciate you guys getting our proposal out to us. Look forward to getting that. So Katie sends a proposal out to her, and after this lady was very professional with Katie, and Katie very professional with her, and she appreciated that. She meaning the client, and so Katie gets the proposal sent out to her, and then Katie gets an email back um, last night from her, little after 6 o'clock, and because that's what the time stamp is on this email that I'm looking at from Katie. And I got a couple. I want to read this to you, and I just it is what it is, and you guys can decipher how you want to look at it. But she said, Miss Foles, our gate would indeed accommodate your equipment as it is 80 inches wide. Unfortunately, for 31 weeks of mowing from the 1st of April until October 31st, that's their service dates that they want it. Okay. Actually, we're a couple weeks in currently in our market on mowing, but that's she said, hey, hey, we haven't had it serviced yet, so it'd be April through October is what we're looking at with fall leaf cleanup, at the end. So, and in November, but so 31 weeks of mowing is what we had left till October 31st for her. The length of time we would require your services is okay. The service price of $69 per week is very steep. This lawn will not take more than 15 to 18 minutes to mow both front and back, and we only desire to have the trimming done once every 4 weeks. This is all we require. In and out very quickly, no frills, no fuss. Sorry we cannot do business, but I appreciate your prompt reply and professionalism. Thank you for your time and effort on my behalf. Now let's look at that for just a second. She already told us we were the only ones that answered the phone when she called. She told Katie that she was very professional on the phone compared to the others after she did talk to somebody. And we got our proposal out faster than anybody. So I share that whole story with you that all those things are important, right? Answering the phone, being professional, speed of proposal. But at the end of the day, price was her concern. Now, and that's not, I don't have a problem with that. But let's talk about it for just a minute. Probably longer than a minute, but let's talk about it. Let's just assume that she's an expert in mowing productivity expectations and reality, and that her 15 to 8 minutes to mow the lawn is the right time frame, because maybe she's literally sat there and timed her services before. Okay. And that brings up a completely different point. But, anyways, let's just go with that. So, let's just say that there's two people that have been on that crew generally. Well, two people at 18 minutes is 36 minutes. So let's just say that time frame is accurate. So what's that work out to? I didn't do it on a calculator. Point 0.65 of an hour? 0.65 of an hour, or somewhere close to it. 36, point, what was it, Daniel? 36 minutes. Yeah, what percentage of an hour is that? Point 0.6. So 0.6 times 100. Even if a person's at $100 an hour, that's going to be $60. I don't think we're overpriced. Well, I know we're not overpriced. My point is, what has the industry done to that type of square footage? Because I think Katie said there was around 9,000 square feet. If 9 or 10,000 square, let's call it, because it was 90 something. So 10,000 square feet. Let's round it up. I don't round it up, wind it up. I don't think we're too high. Now, I'm not worried about it because, like I say all the time, and if you haven't heard it, if you're a new listener, you're going to hear me say it right now, and you'll hear me say it again and again. I don't care what our competitors charging. I don't care. Doesn't bother me one bit, because my pricing, my overhead, my desired profit margin, all those things that are specific to my company, my use rates on my equipment, I know what my cost per hour of operation are. Okay. When this lady says Everything was good except for our price, basically. I can appreciate that. And I'm not mad at it. I'm not offended. Katie sent her a very professional email back, basically just saying, hey, if the service that you hire can't fulfill your needs, we'd be happy to help you. But part of the email that's a little concerning to me is to have the trimming done only once every 4 weeks. That's one thing in it. So let's talk about that before I move to the next thing in it. The problem with trimming a property once every 4 weeks is even though that we know it and the client knows it, there's a whole lot of other people that don't know it. And what I mean by that is our truck would be parked out in front of that property. And this is something I want you guys to think about when you get into weird things that you do for certain clients, right? Like not trim, but once a month. There's more people that are going to drive by your truck on that property and see the quality of that job. So you not only got to be concerned with what the customer wants, but what does it do to your company image when all those cars are driving by and it's like in the second or third week that it hadn't been trimmed and they're like, damn, I wonder why they're not trimmed. Look, they mow, but they don't trim. So you might be getting a whole lot more negative impact than the positive impact that the margin that you're going to make on that job brings back in value to your company. That's one thing I want you guys to think about. I am personally not going to take on a property, a residential property in a very well-to-do neighborhood is where this is located. And there's no sense in me telling you the neighborhood because most of you guys wouldn't understand because it doesn't matter. But it's a very well-to-do neighborhood. Okay. So the expectations of most of the people within that neighborhood are going to be like, damn, I'm not going to hire Wayne's Lawn Service. Look, they're not trimming regularly. So you need to think about that. That's number one. Then our next statement is this is all we require. In and out very quickly. No frills, no fuss. How many of you all really believe that there's no frills, no fuss on a half-assed job? We just, when the job's not done right, I guarantee you they're going to call and they're going to have selective memory when they do decide that, well, yeah, hey, well, I don't really remember telling you to trim it once a month. Well, unfortunately, you did, and that's how we priced a job. And now we fit in with your other pricing, but now you're upset because the job's not being done right. You know, it goes back to, and Mike, I swear you read my mind. It doesn't matter until it matters. And then all of a sudden, you got to deal with it. So the best thing that happened in this situation was she did tell us that, hey, you guys were very professional. You answered the phone. You got my proposal out quick. But I don't like your price. Now, we don't like the fact that she doesn't like the price. But what we liked about it all was everything other than our price came with the word professional from her mouth. And I think that should be everybody's goal. That should be your goal. Because if you look professional and you act professional, there are enough consumers out there that are willing to pay you as a professional. Not everybody, And that's okay because you don't need everybody. I don't need everybody. Nobody needs to be everything to everybody. But as long as our feedback is you answered the phone professionally, you communicated professionally, you sent us a professional proposal, that's our goal at Wayne's Lawn Service. Because what we do know is we will get our fair share at a professional price because of the perceived value that our professionalism brings to the table. And that's what I want you to think about and you to consider is what level of professionalism are you bringing to the table and not basing everything on cost. Because when you try to attract the cost buyer, and this is what we talked about in our webinar the other night in the profit circle. There's two types of buyers, a cost buyer and a value buyer. People that need things, people that want things. What you got to figure out is who do you want to go after and go after that market? Because it goes back to the image you reflect is the income you can expect. And the customer that hires you for price is going to fire you for price. Charles brings up a point here. Lots of possibilities here, he said. Price shopping for someone for price and contracts so a relative could copy the contract and put it in his info. He said, I've had that happen before. Used to paying the $25 guy trying to get a cheaper rate from you. Absolutely. I mean, some people are all in it for price, and that's what they are, and that's who they are, and that'll never change. It's the same reason that sometimes when we get started in business, our vision of who our ideal client is different than who our ideal client really is once we understand who we are as a business. And that's something I want you to think about too this time of the year as we're doing we're kicking off seasons. We're really trying to put on work, or you're trying to maintain work you got, whatever it is have you identified who you are first? Because the absolute most important thing that you must do in selling is to sell yourself first. People want to say, oh, the most important thing in selling is the relationship. The most important thing in selling is doing what you say you're going to do. The most important thing in selling is not painting the sky too blue. The most important thing in selling is treating people the way you want to be treated. Well, first of all, that's not true. In sales, you do not want to treat people the way you want to be treated to be successful. In selling, you treat people the way they want to be treated. Because you've got a different personality than I have. You've got a different personality than your customers have, potentially. So what it's up to you to do as a good salesperson is figure out what makes them tick and treat them that way. Because what motivates you to buy may not be the same thing that motivates them to buy. That's what I want you to remember. So it's not treat people the way you want to be treated. It's treat people the way they want to be treated. And then the most basic fundamental step that has to take place in selling first is to sell yourself first. In other words, do you believe that what you have to offer is different and better than what your competitor has to offer? And if you do believe that, can you present that to the consumer without criticizing the competitor? That's the person that's going to be successful in selling. The person that can create the perceived value that this lady ultimately saw in all aspects of our business here at Wayne's Lawn Service, other than our price in her mind was too high. And that's okay if that's what she believes. But like I said, all we can control are the things that she said we did professionally. So we want to control the controllables. We can't control what somebody thinks about the price of our service. But as you notice in this whole conversation with this lady, Katie did not go back and ask her, what's it going to take to get your business? Because something my daddy taught me a long time ago, and we talk about this a lot, but I'm going to say it again, is the price is the price. If the price changes, something within the scope of the work has got to change. And you can't change the price just to fit into a price mode for somebody. And what else could have possibly been changed there? We couldn't change frequency because if we reduced frequency, that would increase time, which means the cost has to increase. Appreciate that, Ben. Appreciate that. Appreciate all these texts you guys are sending me. Let's see. Mike said, especially when the neighbors point out that's not the right way. Ain't that the truth? That's what I said. That, it's not, you got multiple things that you do for customer satisfaction, right? Number one is satisfy the customer. But number two is you as a business owner have got to understand that when your truck's parked in front of a property and you know that, hey, we're only doing this trimming once a month, everybody driving by doesn't know that. So the 10 or 12, 15% that maybe you're making on the mowing aspect of that job, is it worth what you're losing? And the neighbors or people that drive by, and when they think of you or think of needing a service, they don't think of you because you're half-assing the job. Just something to think about. But I thought that was something worth talking about because it is important. It's very important. And pricing is very important. Like I said, I don't worry. I got past worrying about our pricing a long time ago because I can't worry about my pricing when I know 90% of my competition out there has no idea why they charge what they charge. They're and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way towards my competitors. I just know from traveling across the United States and Canada as a whole that the reality of service related industry businesses, most people really don't understand their cost per hour of operation. So when I try to compete with that, in a lot of cases, I can't. So why worry about something I can't control? But what I can do is diversify my services, number one. And what I can do is focus on a different niche or different clientele of clients that I know will appreciate the fact that we are a professional service. When we show up, we're showing up in a truck that looks professional. We're showing up with equipment that looks professional. We're showing up with employees that look professional and are in a uniform. When they call our office, they're going to have somebody answer the phone or return a phone call and be professional. So it goes back to something in selling that, again, I'm making reference to my dad because he was my mentor with this. And the reality of it is, he said, Wayne, salesmen get so excited when they make a sell, and it's worth getting excited for. He said, I want you to get excited every sale you make. He said, but the most important thing, and he says, this is what consummates the sell. He said, it's the service after the sell that builds the relationship, which creates the loyalty to your business. And I really think that's something I want you guys to walk away with today when we're finished here on Turfs Up Radio. That's the truth bomb for today. That is our truth bomb of the day. Is to ask yourself, what are you doing to consummate the relationship after the sell? And all you got to remember is that it's service after the sell that consummates the relationship. That, my friends, is what makes everything okay within your business. And you noticed I said surface, the service, not the surface, the service after the sell. It doesn't mean things got to be done for free. It doesn't mean things got to be done cheap. I was lost in that world initially in my business as well. That when somebody say, "Hey, can you do this for me?" A lot of times I assumed, and we know what that word does when you break it up. I assumed they meant, "Can you do it for free?" You know, hey Wayne, can while you're here, can you trim that hedge? Can you do this? Can you cut that bush down? Can you, whatever it is, fill in the blank. You guys know my point. Don't think that just because they ask you to do it, they want it done for free. That goes back to your mindset. Absolutely, Miss Smith, we can do that for you. There, let's take a look at it. You take a look at it. That's going to cost X number of dollars to get that done. If that's something that you can price right then, do it right then. If it's something you can do right then, do it right then if your schedule allows it. I know that's different for each and every one of us on what we can do while we're on site, because there's nothing worse sometimes than since you were here projects. Hey, since you were here, can you do, so sometimes you can't. But if it's something you can do, I don't want you guys to leave it out there on the table thinking, yeah, damn, I'll do it. I'm here. I'll go ahead and do it. But I'm not going to charge for it. People will ask to get things done, in most cases, expecting to get paid or pay for getting those things done. And know, like this lady, Fred makes a very good point, just like this lady here. I was just getting ready to say this. As soon as, thanks to Fred, he said, as soon as they sign and send back, their expectations go up. They think you're now in debt to them for going with you. And that's why we had the conversation the other day here on Turfs Up about sometimes the most profitable thing you can say is no. That is certainly something to think about. And Fred's right. That's a very, very good point. That when they say yes, some people think they're getting the keys to the bus. And all they deserve is a ride on the bus. The bus is yours, quote unquote, the business. Customers are temporary stops. And I've literally got a couple examples of that today that happened with Wayne's Lawn Service. You know, Wednesday on my show, I was talking about a client that we have had for many, many years that reached out to us, right? Y'all remember that and said, hey, I've got it. You know, you guys have been servicing my property for years, fertilization, weed control, mowing, or not mowing, fertilization, weed control, and landscaping and hedge trimming and mulch, that whole deal. And he had another company that was doing their mowing for him, residential property, very small. So this other company reaches out to him and they're like, hey, we're no longer going to do just mowing, which, hey, I pat them on the back for that. Mowing is the least profitable service you'll ever offer. And you'll argue that point until you know your numbers. And when you know your numbers, you'll say, damn, yeah, you're right. So let's don't argue about that being right or wrong. That's just the right answer. And if you know your numbers, you know that. So this other company here, which I know the guy well, he's a great guy, good friend, good acquaintance. I wouldn't call John a friend. I know him well enough to talk to him every time I would see him, and we respect each other, but we don't hang out together. So I'm not going to say he's a friend. But he's got a really good company. They've been in business a long time, and evidently they've changed their business model to be full service or no service, which I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, that's a consideration we've went with here for sure. So Mr. Grassi, who is our customer, yeah, that's his real name. So Mr. Grassi tells me that basically, Wayne, I'm torn between two lovers. They've mowed my yard a long time. You guys have taken care of my landscape and my lawn fertilization weed control for a long time. I got to make a decision who I want to use. Initially, we didn't mow his lawn because he had a different gate and going into his backyard, and we don't use a push mower. We don't own a push mower here at my business. Now, what your choice is up to you, but that's just a reality for WLS. So he had this other company mowing his lawn for many, many years. So he says, I didn't know, Wayne, if y'all were still not mowing. He said, but if you can mow my property for me, I want to get a price, a bundle price, just to see where things are at. So long story short, we did, because now we've got a subcontractor that will do the backyards like that. So I get this email from Mr. Grassi, who's very professional man, yesterday about 11 o'clock. And he said, hi, Wayne. This is my Dear John letter. He said, I spoke with Steel Blades. And like I said, John Steele's a great guy. I'm not criticizing him at all. And they sent me over an invoice for similar services. Pricing is also similar. I'm going to keep Steel Blades to do my lawn service. I appreciate all the years of hard work you've done for me. They are already cutting the grass, and it makes sense to keep them with the prices being pretty much the same. I will continue to highly recommend your company to anyone who needs lawn and landscaping care. Thank you for understanding, Gary Grassi. Now, that's my Dear John letter. First of all, I don't understand. I didn't tell him that. I, I don't understand realistically, but that's not what I told him. I said, Gary, and he's one of the few customers I call by his first name. I said, Gary, no problem. I'll cancel your service effective today. I've appreciated your business and loyalty to our family business for so many years. If you see a decline in the quality of the turf moving forward, let me know. It will take about a year to see significant change in the property based on the maintenance program you've been receiving from us. We'll be happy to put you back on as a client at any time. Thanks. So, what I didn't want to do was burn a bridge with Mr. Grassi. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing with this, y'all. He was a customer for 34 years. 34 years. And he had to pick between, he didn't have to, he wanted to. He wanted to pick one provider to do it all. Kyle brought up a really good point in this conversation because we always talk about our cancels and why they canceled and what could we have done differently. You know? Kyle's like, I don't understand. He said, with all due respect and without demeaning or minimizing mowing lawns, why would you pick the company that's been doing the one that requires the least amount of knowledge? Why are you going to risk the quality and the results that you've seen in the hedge trimming, the mulching, and the lawn care? You know, we've been doing this, providing the service based on the science that's required to have the property looking right. And these other guys, and again, not talking bad about them, I don't want it to come across that way, are simply mowing the grass. And we're not minimizing it. We're not demeaning mowing because we do a lot of it. We got a lot of mowing accounts. Trust me. So why do you think he made the choice? I personally don't know. I personally don't want to ask him right now. If I was in front of him, I would have, but I don't want to. I hate emailing, you know. I know what it really boils down to, and some of it's cost. And this guy's a really good guy. Really good guy, man. We've been providing service with this guy so long. He was single when I started providing service with him. Then he got married. Then he had two boys, and now he's divorced for a few years. And he's not in a financial crisis, I'll tell you that. But my whole point is, it seems like if I was going to pick somebody, this is just me personally. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Craig, you're right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We've been doing the most profitable parts of the services for years. Because, like I just said, if you know your numbers, mowing's the least profitable thing you do. So I was happy not to have the mowing and getting the mulching, the hedge trimming, any landscape changes that he made, and the fert and weed, things we were making some money on. But what I do know, and I think Mr. Grassi forgot he told me this, their all-in price was $1,736 a year for mowing and spraying, not the mulching and the others. I told him, I said, I can't compete with that, Mr. Grassi. My mowing alone is $500 a year more than that. So although he said we were close in price, I realize and I know we're really not close in price. But the only problem I really have with it is that he is a very smart person And I think this is going to turn into one of those cases. I think this is going to turn into one of those cases where it's going to take a year, but I think we're going to get the job back. And what I also think is he forgot what it's like to have a shitty looking yard. Because for the last 34 years, and it took us about 2 or 3 to get him in really good shape, I'm sure. He's had a nice looking lawn. And if you Google this guy's property right now on Google Earth, you can see his yard and both neighbors and the turf quality difference in those. If you look at all 3 of those yards, you can see the difference. And I know, you know what hurts me the most in it? this is the business owner side of it, not my ego. He's getting ready, I know, to spend some money on a renovation on that landscape because he's got arbs that we've been talking to him about for last 8 or 9 years that are over the eaves of the house now that need to be removed, need to be taken down. He's going to spend some decent money on a complete new landscape. And I'm going to lose it. And that's the frustrating part for me. But hey, goes back to my buddy Steve Russ, who's no longer alive, but he was in sales his entire life, worked for a company here in Louisville called Davis Electronics. And what Steve taught me a long time ago is something that I live by in sales too. And that is simply this: some will, some won't. So what? I can't control a person's mindset. Now, that takes me back to something my dad used to say about controlling mindset. And this is something I want each and every one of you guys to walk away with here today because it is very, very important and it's valid if you look past, if you look into what I'm getting ready to say. You can't control somebody's mindset. But the analogy that I want you guys to remember is this: you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. But what you can do is throw a little salt in the hay. What are you doing to throw a little salt in the hay? That's the question. What are you doing to throw a little salt in the hay? Yes, Katie. Katie's telling me something. Yeah. So here's some good news Katie just relayed to me. And you guys see this happen within your business too. Past customer just got in, stopped service in 2023. And I swear to God, this is not a lie. Katie would tell you this. We had the yard in good shape. And see, that's what happens. That's what's happened to Mr. Grossi. And that's why I told him it's going to take a year before he sees the difference between us and them. Because we can all make tall grass short. But what we can all do is put together a good program to keep somebody's yard in shape. We can all do it, but some of us don't want to put the cost into doing that for our customers, where we do invest in great products and we do apply the right rates on those products. And like I tell people all the time, Wayne, you guys, man, your spraying's high. Compared to what? The service that you got rid of and your yard's full of weeds? I said, you don't have to trust me because you don't know me. But all you really got to do is give me about 4 or 5 months to make a few applications to your turf and let your eyes see the difference. Let your eyes see the difference. I know we kind of beat that horse a little bit around today, and I didn't get to several things like normally happens, but I appreciate all the input you guys had on this topic, and I didn't get to everybody's text. I apologize. But the reality of it is simply this: you control your own destiny. You can only control the controllables. You cannot control mindset. But what you can do is throw a little salt in the hay. And when you throw a little salt in the hay, that's creating perceived value. And one way to create perceived value is, number one, do not ever criticize your competitor. And number two is, don't ever get mad at your client and let them know it. You know, Mr. Grassi, 34 years as a customer. I'm not mad at him. I'm disappointed, but I'm not mad, because what I know is we got an opportunity to get him back. And for now, the most profitable thing I said was, no, we cannot get to that price, Mr. Grassi. We appreciate your business. We appreciate your loyalty, and we look forward to having you back as a customer someday. But Wayne's Lawn Service is not the meet or beat business. There are hundreds of thousands of them out there, but when you decide you're not going to be the meet or beat business, or you're not going to try to be everything to everybody, guess what will happen? Your whole mindset changes, your whole business changes, your whole profitability changes, and you fix your business. And that is the only one that matters, is yours. It's yours. You take care of your business. Don't worry about the so-called, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's a way everybody understands it. Don't worry about the so-called low ballers, bottom feeders, chucking the trucks, whatever they're called. Because what you can do is never, ever control that. But you can 100% control what you're going to do and how you're going to do it within your business. You guys have a great weekend. Stay safe. Watch the storms. Reach out to BAM Weather, BAMWX.com. Those guys get you hooked up and keep your return on investment where it should be on sending yourself out, your crews out, or whatever you're going to do. Be the best money you've ever spent. Trust me, those guys are worth every penny you spend with them. BAMWX.com. Let them know you heard about us on Turfs Up Radio. We'll see you guys Monday. And remember, profit is not a dirty word.